I think there's such a thing as a performance gene. If it's in your DNA, it needs to come out. For me, it originally came out through music, then segued into acting and came out through there. I always need to get up and perform. This blue-eyed Irishman really has the performance gene because he easily transforms into anyone. He could be a confused courier waking up from a coma in a post-apocalyptic world, a transgender woman looking for her mother, a villain who opposes Batman, or a Birmingham criminal leader in a stylish suit. But despite the crazy popularity and high salary, Cillian Murphy does not particularly like to give interviews and appear on red carpets. Why didn't he become a lawyer and a rock star? For what role did he give up vegetarianism? And where did the disappointed Cillian Murphy meme come from? And how did his face get on the postal stamp? Today on the Biographer channel, we will tell the story of one of the most modest and secretive actors of our time. Are you ready? Then let's start. Cillian Murphy was born on May 25, 1976 in Cork Country, Ireland. At first, the family, in which besides him, there were 3 more children. Brother Baddie and sisters Sile and Orla lived in Douglas, but later they moved to the suburb of Ballintemple. Both parents were educators. His father held the position of an inspector in the Department of Education. His mother was a French teacher. Cillian's grandfather, uncles, and aunts were also teachers. There was a lot of music and a lot of books in their house, although his parents were not too fond of the theater. My family life revolved around modern and traditional music, so I was always encouraged to pursue it. It wasn't a very artistic household, but there were opportunities, and I was motivated by them from the beginning, whether that was going to the pub with my dad or going to the theater. Murphy was raised Catholic and attended the fee-paying secondary school Presentation Brothers College. The boy studied well there, but because of his behavior, he often got into trouble. Sometimes he was even suspended from classes. Murphy recalled that in his youth he was reasonably troublesome and a bit of a mess, a bit energetic. In one of the interviews, the actor shared his thoughts on Irish education. You get these really bright and creative kids who get eaten up by that system. If they come out of education with some degree of self-confidence and self-awareness, that's enough, and hopefully they will make some good friends. Eventually, Cillian realized that bad behavior at school didn't make his life any easier. Instead, he started channeling his excess teenage energy into stage work. Cillian's first acquaintance with the theater took place when he was in the 2nd grade. He began attending a theater group with an excellent teacher. It was something I loved, he remembered. But a more serious introduction to the stage came at the age of 16 to 17, when the respected local theater group Corca Dorca held a drama module at his school. Murphy participated in the dramatic production under the direction of Corca Dorca director Pat Kiernan. He later described the experience as a great thrill and a fully alive feeling that he sought to find in each of his further works. His English teacher, writer, and poet William Wall encouraged the boy to pursue acting. He did a school play. I could see he was a natural. It just jumped out at you that this guy can act. For that time, however, Cillian had other plans for the future. The fact is that little Murphy dreamt of becoming a rock star since childhood. He mastered the piano, flute, and guitar. He also played a little clarinet, trumpet, violin, and harmonica. And the boy began to write and perform his own songs in public at the age of 10. His first band, called Sarah Days and inspired by the Beatles, performed in the school cafeteria in the first grades of school. As a teenager, he sang and played guitar in several bands with his younger brother Baddie. But the urge to act has not disappeared. Me and my pal Bob, who was the drummer in the band, did all these funny sketches, just messing and putting on voices and things. But it was eye-opening and it felt natural. I absolutely loved it, he said. The Murphy brothers later formed their own band, the Sons of Mr. Green Jeans, the name of which they borrowed from the song of their idol, the famous musician Frank Zappa.
Oh, so we were heavily into Frank Zappa when we were, I still am, but like we discovered Frank Zappa at a very sort of, at that age where you just absorb things, and he just blew our minds. So we love this album Hot Rats that he made, I think in like 69, and there was a record, or the tune on that record called Sons of Mr. Green Jeans, so we nicked that.
According to Murphy, the band specialized in weird lyrics and endless guitar solos. On YouTube, a sweaty-faced, wide-eyed young Cillian can be found explaining to a reporter what his band is all about. It's a music that's popular in the 90s, and it's not constrained by any formula, and that came from the whole spirit of jazz, which is the spirit to express yourself on your instrument, which has been lost. Passion for music also led to the signing of a serious contract with the famous music label Acid Jazz Records, whose representatives offered the brothers a 5-album deal. But at the last moment, the guys refused to sign the contract. The fact is that Baddie was still studying at school, and his parents forbade him to drop out. And without his brother, Cillian did not want to continue developing the band. Besides, the young musicians did not agree with the amount of their royalties, which they should receive for giving the rights to Murphy's compositions to the company. The actor later admitted, "Looking back, I'm really glad we didn't sign a contract because you kind of give your life to the label and all your music. It was like, come to London and live in digs somewhere on 50 quid a week and we'll own all of your music." So that was our peak, and then it fizzled out. Do you think the brothers made a mistake by giving up on a musical career? Be sure to share your thoughts with us in the comments. All bands fall out. Unless you're Coldplay, you get signed, used up, and spat out. At least as an actor, you can make decisions on your own. After graduating from school in 1996 at parents' request, Cillian entered University College Cork, where he began to study law. However, already in the first year, Murphy failed the exams because he was more interested in rehearsals with his band. The study of legal disciplines seemed boring and uninteresting to him. Instead, he happily attended the theater studio at the university and took part in productions, each time demonstrating more and more acting skills. About the change in his priorities and the lack of higher education, Murphy said the following: "I'd probably have been wealthier if I had stayed with law, but pretty miserable doing it." After seeing the play A Clockwork Orange, directed by Kiernan, acting began to increase interest in the future celebrity. He recalled, "It was promenade, techno, dry ice, and guys on stilts. I hadn't seen a conventional play in a proscenium arch or anything. The first thing I saw was that. I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my whole life." Cillian's first performance on stage was in the University College Cork Drama Society's amateur production of Observe the Sons of Ulster Marching Towards the Somme, starring the famous Irish-American comedian Day Bishop. Murphy also played one of the main characters in Little Shop of Horrors at Cork Opera House. Later, the Irishman admitted that his main motivation at that time was not an actor's career, but attending parties and dating girls. Later, Cillian became so passionate about the acting profession that he began to seek auditions at the Corcadorca Theatre Company. And in September 1996, the blue-eyed youngster made his debut on the big stage, playing the role of a fickle Cork teenager in Andy Walsh's production of Disco Pigs. The actor found out that he got the main male part during a camping holiday in France. Probably he did not even expect to receive it, but it did happen. Walsh recalled meeting and getting to know Murphy. "There was something about him. He was incredibly enigmatic, and he would walk into a room with real presence, and you'd go, my God." It had nothing to do with those bloody eyes that everyone's going on about all the time. Murphy recalled that at the time he was incredibly cocky and had nothing to lose, and his demeanor must have suited him for the role. Disco Pigs was originally planned as a 3-week production in Cork. Later, it moved to the Edinburgh Festival, where, according to The Guardian magazine, it exploded and got the opportunity to shine at the Bush Theatre in London. In the end, it all turned into a 2-year tour of Europe, Canada, and Australia. During the trip, Murphy was able to let loose, staying up late, drinking, going to nightclubs, playing live. Behind all this fun, he felt that his future path was already paved. "I remember after London, I thought, right, I'm going to call myself an actor," Murphy recalled. Therefore, he had to leave both the university and his own band. In his youth, Cillian regularly performed on the theater stage. He played in many productions, including Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, Chekhov's The Seagull, The Country Boy, and Juno and the Paycock. At the same time, Murphy also began acting in films. Cillian's debut on the screen was the movie Sunburn, released in 1999. The role of a waster of life who ran away from his pregnant girlfriend to America and tried to stay there by hook or by crook became a real breakthrough for the actor. From that moment on, he appeared on the set more and more often. 2 years later, Murphy tried his hand at screenwriting for the first time, writing and starring in the short comedy Watchmen. The film about two clumsy friends and their adventures was presented at the festival in Edinburgh, and it received many positive reviews. In the same year, the director Kirsten Sheridan offered Murphy to participate in the adaptation of the already familiar play Disco Pigs. The actor not only agreed, but also wrote the soundtrack for this picture.
And it wasn't the first film I'd done, but it was the first film I did, I suppose, that people took any notice of. And I have a lot of affection for that character because it was the first role I ever played professionally.
In 1999, the actor appeared in the film On the Edge and the television adaptation of the miniseries The Way We Live Now. Due to a stormy acting and theater career, the Irishman had to move from Cork first to Dublin, and after a few years, to London. The next year was decisive in the career of the future celebrity. All this because Murphy was cast in the lead role in Danny Boyle's horror film, 28 Days Later. Cillian portrayed courier Jim, who survived the pandemic and was confused by finding himself alone in a desolate, post-apocalyptic world after waking up from a coma in a London hospital.
Hello!
The film creators were impressed by the performance of the young actor in Disco Pigs. However, he had to go through 5 auditions before he was actually approved for the part. Casting director Gail Stevens said that it was only after seeing his slim body during filming that they decided to show the actor completely naked at the beginning of the picture. She recalled that Murphy was shy on the set and tended to look away from the camera a bit. However, the woman was delighted with his dreamy and slightly shifty look, which was so suitable for the film. At the actor's request, the nude scenes were filmed in a closed room. Murphy himself was delighted to work with Boyle. He's got an amazing energy. It's kind of infectious how enthusiastic he is about every aspect of making a film. You know he's totally in love with the process of filmmaking. For the post-apocalyptic effect, the creative team had to get up very early and at 4 in the morning when the streets was almost deserted. The director's assistants were stopping single passers-by to start filming. The director recalled, "We hired all these girls to be traffic marshals. One of them was my daughter, who was 19 at the time, and they'd say, 'Would you just mind waiting here? We're making a film.' It's just bizarre the way it worked." The hospital you see in the movie is real. Due to the fact that the budget was limited and there was not enough money for the scenery, the team rented it for filming and the gas station was really blown up. This trick cost them $312,500. Dead people in the church were played by ordinary students who agreed to participate for free, and to make zombies look believable, they hired the professional runners. Released in the UK in late 2002, by the following July, 28 Days Later became a hit in North America and a worldwide success, introducing Murphy to a mass audience for the first time. His performance earned him nominations for Best Newcomer at the 8th Empire Awards and Breakthrough Male Performance at the 2004 MTV Movie Awards. Murphy said that he thought the film was much deeper than the usual zombie or horror movie. After all, everyone who watched this movie asked himself the question, what would I do in the main character's shoes if I found myself in a similar situation? The actor also expressed surprise at the right attitude of the American audience, which reacted well to it despite the numerous violent scenes.
It was a brilliant experience making that film. You know, it was a really kind of game changer for me. Working with Danny Boyle and working with Alex Garland, and the film did so well, you know. And I do see, I don't really watch zombie stuff, but we were the first people to make zombies run, you know, and changed everything. So yeah, it's a very special place in my heart, that movie.
Since its release, the film has been featured on several best of movie lists and has retained a large following, especially during COVID-19 pandemic. The leading role of the horror film was a turning point for Murphy. "It opened doors for me," he said. The following year, the blue-eyed Irishman re-qualified from a lonely courier to a lovelorn and miserable supermarket salesman, John, in Intermission. His character, along with his friend Mick and professional thief Leif, played by Colin Farrell, is planning to rob a bank.
So we hold the girlfriend hostage. Say we'll kill her if he doesn't do as we say.
This black comedy became the most successful Irish independent film in Irish box office history at the time. The audience appreciated the excellent performance of the two Irish handsomes, and Murphy's expressive appearance, combined with his acting skills, made the audience call him the next Colin Farrell, just less eccentric. Cillian did not like such comparisons with a colleague on the set. It's basically lazy journalism if they say I'm the new Colin Farrell. This thing about heat. It's all just hot air. What do you think? Is there anything similar between our today's star and Farrell? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. We read them all. 2003 turned out to be very productive for Cillian. In addition to the black comedy Intermission, he also played a minor part as a deserter soldier in a successful Hollywood period drama Cold Mountain, as well as the role of a butcher in Girl with a Pearl Earring with Scarlett Johansson and Colin Firth.
I must get back.
Don't walk away, listen to me.
Just remember who you are. Don't get caught up in his world.
I am only a maid, but I would never give in to Master Van Ryven.
I wasn't talking about Van Ryven.
Cillian and the film crew traveled to a slaughterhouse in Luxembourg to learn how to properly cut and chop meat to portray his character truthfully. Since the actor was a vegetarian at the time, the press was interested in such a decision, especially after the journalists found out that it was Murphy's idea. In one of the interviews, he was asked, "Why should a vegetarian learn to cut pigs into small pieces?" The actor replied, "Have you ever seen someone smoking on film who doesn't smoke? They always do something dumb, and immediately it's obvious they don't smoke. It's not method acting, it's just so... When I come on screen, people don't go, 'Hang on a minute, that guy's never carried a pig before.' Otherwise, some butcher in the audience will stand up and rip on the whole movie." In general, the star was a vegetarian for about 15 years. This, according to him, happened because he was afraid of getting Malkat disease, and not because of the moral side of the issue. Cillian also had doubts about the unhealthy practices of agribusiness. The star began to eat meat only in order to gain weight for his role in Peaky Blinders. According to Murphy, he didn't want to look like a skinny Irish fella on the screen. Later, the actor would return to vegetarianism. The next defining role in Murphy's career was the role of the villain Dr. Jonathan Crane in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. The actor originally auditioned for the role of Bruce Wayne/Batman himself. He knew even then that he did not have the right physique for a superhero, but he took the opportunity to meet with director Nolan. As time showed, this acquaintance became one of the most important in Murphy's career. Well, the first part of the question, I think if you ask any male if you really want to get into a real suit, that was a dream come true, obviously. And then just to get to work with Chris, even for that little test, was amazing as well. The actor mentioned that 10 other actors auditioned for the role of the main character along with him. They had to pass the test to perform as Bruce Wayne in private, as Wayne putting on his public persona, and of course, as the Dark Knight. Later, the casting results would hit the internet.
Who was with Falcone at the docks?
Joe murdered my parents, and they deserve...
Don't pretend you wanted to do this for them.
In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter in 2021, Cillian said, "I don't believe I was close to landing that role. The only actor who was right for that part at that time, in my estimation, was Christian Bale, and he absolutely smashed it. So, for me, it was just an experience." Despite the fact that the main part was given to Bale, Nolan was so impressed with Murphy that he gave him the supporting role, the psychiatrist Crane, who worked in an asylum as well as his alter ego, the supervillain Scarecrow. This character was one of the oldest in Batman comics. Cillian was pleased with the director's decision and happily agreed to play the part.
Even though it's a huge, big studio picture, big studio production, it's only Chris, his cameraman, and the first AD who are around when you're shooting. It's a very private, very calm, very quiet set. There's no monitors, there's no video villages, none of that stuff. And so even though it's a huge movie, it feels like an independent film. And I've always felt that the only difference between those films is the resources you have, and it's how you utilize the resources.
The actor admitted, ambiguous characters attract him much more. "I'm not interested in a good man's life, necessarily. I love characters under pressure. What happens to what we consider reasonably normal individuals in quite extreme circumstances. And of course, we can see that around us all the time," Murphy claimed. And Dr. Crane fitted this criteria perfectly. Traumatized as a child, he tried to overcome his fear through terror and blackmail.
He's here.
Who?
The Batman.
In order to enjoy the premiere, Cillian did not read the entire script and was satisfied only with the scenes in which he directly participated. All the actors of Batman tried to keep the plot a secret until the last minute, but according to the actor, it was very difficult. The same year, Cillian played another negative character, Jackson Ripner, who was terrorizing Rachel McAdams during a night flight in Wes Craven's thriller Red Eye. After the film was released, the actor joked, "I don't know if anyone will ever sit next to me on a plane again." The New York Times film critic Manohla Dargis claimed that Murphy was the perfect villain. His baby blues look cold enough to freeze water, and his wolfish leer suggests its own terrors. The film received favorable reviews and earned nearly $100 million at the global box office. This was how the actor got his villainous image, for which Murphy received several nominations and awards. These include Best Villain at the 2006 MTV Movie Awards for Batman Begins, Entertainment Weekly included him in the list of MVP of the summer of 2005 and the list of 10 breakthrough performance actors. David Dimby from The New Yorker wrote that although Cillian Murphy had an angelic appearance, he could easily turn into a villain and was one of the most seductive monsters of the time. As for the actor himself, he was not particularly concerned with such a choice of roles. For me, drama is conflict. I'm interested in contradiction. All the great works of art or film or literature, in my opinion, have elements of those in them. Because who wants to write about happy people? However, to get away from his villainous image, the actor starred in Neil Jordan's comedy drama Breakfast on Pluto. In this film, based on Patrick McCabe's novel with the same title, Murphy played Patrick Braden, a transgender Irish woman nicknamed Kitten who was searching for her mother. Cillian auditioned for the role in 2001, but the director did not really want to deal with highlighting the transgender issues. The actor had been persuading Jordan to make the film for several years because he was afraid that he would become too old to play Patrick. He prepared for filming in advance. Back in 2004, the actor met a real trans person who dressed him accordingly and took him to clubs with his friends. The role required serious primping, so I had to pluck my eyebrows and remove the hair on my chest and legs. In one of the interviews, he said this about his role. To me, someone's sexuality is usually the least interesting thing about them. It's secondary. The only reason it becomes a source for dramatic storytelling is because people have made such an issue out of it. Although the critics' opinions about this movie were divided, Murphy, however, was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy and won the 4th Irish Film and Television Academy Best Actor Award. Film critic Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 stars out of 4, a very favorable review. The enchanting and hopeful Breakfast on Pluto, adapted by Jordan from a novel by Patrick McCabe, has a hero who is a little mad and a little saintly, he wrote. From a film about transgender issues, Murphy moved to historical cinema and starred in The Wind That Shakes the Barley, a movie about the Irish War of Independence and the Irish Civil War. The film won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival and became the most successful Irish independent film of 2006. For Cillian, participation in this project was especially desirable because it was shot in his native Cork County.
It's beautifully composed shots just of the landscape and these men in the landscape, and all of the stories in the script are based on real life events and real life characters, but they're kind of amalgamations of those events and characters.
The actor auditioned 5 times for the role of Damien O'Donovan, a young doctor who became a revolutionary before receiving a definite yes. It was a special privilege for the actor, and he said that he was extremely proud of the film and admired the depth of its plot. Kenneth Turan from the Los Angeles Times wrote, Murphy is especially good at playing the zealotry as well as the soul-searching and the regret, at showing us a man who is eaten up alive because he's forced to act in ways that are contrary to his background and his training. But for Murphy, participation in the project had another important result. He claimed that working with Ken Loach gave him a rare experience. The British film director gave him important knowledge about acting, observation, and being, through his method of working on films. It's stated that the actors were not given a script. The director shot in chronological order. The actors were placed in realistic settings that forced them to act and react. All you have is instinct, said Cillian. For his work in this war drama, GQ magazine presented Murphy with the Actor of the Year award. Next year turned out to be equally productive for the Irishman. He starred in Danny Boyle's science fiction film Sunshine. Here, Cillian appeared before the audience as a physicist astronaut who was tasked with saving our planet from freezing. While preparing for this part, the actor consulted with physicists from Geneva Labs. The actor was delighted to work with Boyle again. Yeah, it was pretty grueling, but it's a dream to be making a film with someone like Danny Boyle. You get a few bumps and bruises, that's nothing to complain about. However, the most tiring for him and his colleagues on the set were not the combat scenes. Nope, there were costumes. Boyle refused to make spacesuits according to the NASA model and developed their own design. Cameras were mounted in the middle of the helmets, which should further immerse the audience in the characters' inner experiences. However, the fact was that they were heavy, and the effort that the actors put into wearing them was incredible. During the shooting, most of which took place in the summer, even the stuntmen fainted from exhaustion.
All crew are dying.
We know we're dying. As long as we can live long enough to deliver the payload, we're okay with it.
Kappa, warning. You will not live long enough to deliver the payload.
Please clarify.
Mark Strong, Chris Evans, and others were among the star team of spacecraft members trying to resuscitate the sun through a nuclear explosion. Despite the original plot, well-known actors, and excellent direction, the film failed at the box office despite good reviews from critics. Murphy himself admitted in an interview that after participating in Sunshine and communicating with scientists for his part, he became an atheist. I was agnostic before this film. Now I'm very much an atheist. Not just because I spent time with these guys, they just confirmed what I'd always suspected. The actor claims that for him, the movie is ultimately a battle between science and religion, or science instead of fundamentalism. Despite this, he stated in 2019 that the Catholic faith still shapes his morals. In the same year, the actor starred in the film Hippie Hippie Shake as Richard Neville, editor of the radical underground magazine Oz. His colleague on the set was Sienna Miller. The British film company, Working Title, began development of the film back in 1998, but it was repeatedly postponed. Directors and screenwriters changed. In September 2007, filming finally began. However, 4 years later, Working Title announced that the movie would not be released to wide screens due to financial reasons. The following year, Murphy starred in the melodrama The Edge of Love, which was based on real events. The film told about the difficult relationship of the famous Welsh poet Dylan Thomas and his wife with another married couple. Sienna Miller, Matthew Rhys, and Keira Knightley starred here along with Cillian.
You and your friend. Tell me.
We were kids, William. We were on a beach and it happened once. That's all.
Knightley's mother, Sherman MacDonald, wrote the script for this project. The picture was a great success among viewers and critics. Besides, the actor appeared again as Scarecrow in Nolan's film The Dark Knight, the continuation of Batman Begins, and 4 years later, in the third part of the trilogy, The Dark Knight: The Legend Reborn. In July 2008, the celebrity's face appeared on a postal stamp. The fact was that the Irish Post Office and Post issued a series of 4 stamps paying tribute to the films made in Ireland at the time, including one with the image of Murphy from The Wind That Shakes the Barley. In the 2010 psychological thriller Peacock, Cillian plays a man with a split personality who makes people believe he is also his own wife. Murphy said about this film, "Peacock stunned me as a script from start to finish. It offers an incredible challenge to an actor, one I couldn't turn down." Elliot Page, Susan Sarandon, and Bill Pullman became the actors' colleagues on set. The Washington Times called the film a handsomely mounted psychological drama with an arresting lead turn by Cillian Murphy. The same year, The Irishman starred in one of the best films in history, according to IMDb, and not only. Inception, which strengthened the fame and popularity of its creator, Christopher Nolan. After the release of this picture, it became clear that the director can shoot a blockbuster of almost any scale and complexity, showing a high level of quality and box office success.
He's very reluctant to use CGI unless entirely essential. So that's why I think his films are so visceral and such kind of honesty to them. Because most of the stuff you're seeing actually happened.
Inception was a good, unpredictable movie full of well-known actors who played divinely. Despite the fact that the plot of the picture resembled traditional films about robbery, a multi-level plot composition was invented for the film, with main characters falling asleep. In this movie, Murphy turned into Robert Fisher, the head of the powerful financial corporation who became the main project of the spy Cobb, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. By the way, we've already made a story about this Oscar-winning actor. You can click on the link in the right corner of the video and watch Leo's biography on our channel. The movie has many hidden symbols. For example, if you take the first letters of the main characters' names, Dom, Robert, Ames, Arthur, Mal, and Saito, they spell dreams. If you add Peter, Ariadne, and Yusuf, the whole makes dreams pay, which is what they do for a mind thief. Continuing the topic of names, Cillian Murphy's character Robert Fisher was named after the famous chess player Bobby Fischer. It's also interesting that the photo of his father, with glasses and a mustache, on this character's bedside table was also Murphy. The Irish actor's performance in Inception, as well as the entire project in general, was highly praised by film critics. The following year, Murphy briefly returned to the theater, starring in the stage monodrama Misterman, written and directed by Enda Walsh. The actor previously worked with this playwright on his Disco Pigs. The play was first staged in Galway and then taken to Brooklyn, New York. Murphy had this to say about the role. "The live nature of it makes it so dangerous. You're only there because of the goodwill of the audience, and that's compounded by its being a one-man show." Cillian's acting had received critical acclaim and theatre awards from the Irish Times and Drama Desk. The same year, Murphy starred in the British horror film Retreat, which came out in limited release, and also appeared in the sci-fi action film In Time, starring Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried. Here, Cillian got the role of the antagonist, a time watchman who served the government of a society which uses time as its primary currency. Despite the extraordinary plot and stellar cast, the film received poor reviews from critics. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, don't waste time. Click on the bell and the subscription button as soon as possible. We have many more interesting stories ahead. In 2002, Rodrigo Cortez's thriller Red Lights was released. In it, Murphy played Tom Buckley, an assistant paranormal investigator. His colleagues on the set were Robert De Niro and Sigourney Weaver. Murphy considered working with De Niro one of the scariest moments in his career. He remarked, "My first scene, when I come to visit him, my character is supposed to be terrified and intimidated. There was no acting involved. The man has a presence. You can't act presence. I'll never have that. Watching him use it, when you put a camera on it, it just becomes something else." Despite a strong cast, the film received negative reviews from critics and was not successful at the box office. In the British independent film Broken, Murphy played a teacher named Michael. According to the actor, it was primarily a story about parent-child relationships and the fact that there was no perfect family and a person essentially did not grow up. My parents are teachers, so it's good that I got to play a character that I understand very well. I know what it's like. I, on the one hand, remember well what it's like to be a student. On the other, I know who the teachers are. His performance in this drama won him the British Independent Film Award for Best Supporting Actor. However, despite numerous awards and public recognition, it was the participation in the next project that brought Murphy to a new level and made him mega popular. In 2013, director and screenwriter Stephen Knight presented the series Peaky Blinders to the public, which created a real sensation. The crime drama produced by the BBC and Netflix tells about the Shelby family, which lives at the beginning of the 20th century in Birmingham, the second largest city in Britain after London, that is gaining strength in the period between the two world wars. The story of the series is based on real events. In Birmingham in the 1890s, as a result of the economic crisis, young working-class people began to turn to organized crime en masse. Among them was the Peaky Blinders gang, whose signature style included a flat cap with a disposable razor blade stitched into the peak. The creator of the series wanted to tell an authentic story about the life of one gypsy Irish family after World War I and its transformation into one of the most powerful criminal clans in Great Britain. Despite the originality of the subject itself, Knight also had personal motives for creating the series.
For me, it came through the family, and it was family legend about my dad's uncles who were Peaky Blinders. So I always had these little visual snapshots of a world of glamour and gangsters and guns and illegality.
Here, Cillian Murphy plays the role of Thomas Shelby, a war hero who uses his outlaw status and intelligence to seize power in Birmingham and beyond. Like the fictional crime boss Michael Corleone from The Godfather, Tommy has style and prudence and is ready to kill enemies for revenge or showing power. Murphy tells EW, "There was slight hesitation because I'd never really played that physically imposing sort of hyper-masculine type character. In fact, I'd probably played the opposite up to that point. But I knew that it was such amazing material and I knew that it was a gift of a role and I just needed to convince them that I could do it and I could work to become that physically imposing character." The main character is the heart of the drama, its moral guide or, according to one of the critics, a moral vacuum. Tommy is ambiguous and sincere in his image. He engages in racketeering and drug smuggling, he kills in cold blood, but at the same time values his family and protects the oppressed.
And because I think the stuff that he witnessed in France, in the trenches, changed him. And there are things that neither you or I could ever imagine.
Tommy is the face of Peaky Blinders, embodying the style and basic philosophical principles of this gang. However, this character's vulnerability and paranoia drive the narrative of the series and provide other gang members with much more depth and experience than the real criminals had. Murphy admitted that the most difficult part of his role was the violence. There were times where I would talk to Steve and go, "Does he really have to do that?" I struggle with the violence sometimes, but there's always consequences to the violence in Peaky. It isn't like superhero violence. He shared.
But the main thing is, you bunch of f***ers, despite the provocation from the cavalry, no fighting. Right? No fighting. No fighting. No fighting. No f***ing fighting! Good. Get the f***ing...
He considers his character contradictory, complex, difficult, and in order to feel him, it is better to put aside his moral compass. Although we cannot imagine anyone other than Murphy in the role of the charismatic Thomas Shelby, the actor was not the first to whom Stephen Knight offered this role. In fact, the director originally saw it played by Jason Statham. Nothing really sets Cillian up as the obvious choice, Knight said. But we knew he was interested, so we met him. However, the action star was busy with other projects. Then the choice fell on the Blue-Eyed Irishman. Rumor has it that Knight chose Murphy after receiving a text message from him. There was only one phrase written there. Remember, I am an actor. Evil Tongues said that in this way, Murphy slightly disrespected Statham's acting skills, but the director denied this. What Murphy meant by the text was that when he walks into a room, he's not Thomas Shelby, but he can become him. He inhabits that role completely, he claimed.
Nearly got everything!
Why did Murphy's character become so popular? It is very interesting to watch the transformation of a man who turns from a decent person, awarded a medal for bravery, to a dangerous and tough leader of a gangster clan. The authors of the series gave Tommy a cool-headedness and an unmoved facial expression under any circumstances. He is a classic crisis manager, diplomat, and negotiator who will come into contact with the most terrifying people that British soil has ever seen. So, why does this character have so many fans around the world? The actor has his own assumption why the image of his hero works. It's the anti-hero effect. There's a desire for these damaged, morally misshapen characters who, while far from admirable in their intent, are relatable, identifiable, for all their misdeeds and wrongdoings, and likable. He's the kind of character I like to watch and digest. Does the actor have anything in common with his character? Murphy repeatedly noted in his interviews that the way of solving problems and the motivation of Shelby's actions were not characteristic of him. Cillian was also annoyed by his character's hairstyle, made according to the fashion of the 20s of the last century. It gained immense popularity among fans of the series, but the artist himself admitted more than once that he did not understand why the audience liked it so much. Besides, the actor, known for his commitment to a healthy lifestyle, constantly appeared on camera with a cigarette. Cillian himself was against smoking. Cigarettes were made especially for the star, in which herbal extracts were used instead of tobacco. But this replacement was also difficult for the celebrity. Murphy was annoyed by the smoky flare that accompanied him on the set of each episode. At his request, it was calculated that he smoked about 3,000 duplicates during the season. In life, Murphy is a monogamist and has a happy family. His character, although he loves one woman all his life, quite often has a new girlfriend. All of them are completely different, unlike each other. But Tommy succeeds with everyone. Whether it's a wealthy widow, or an ardent feminist, or a crazy princess, or even a combat friend. Oddly enough, Tommy never ate in the series.
For example, I remember we had gotten through the first two series and then we realized that Tommy has never eaten. We've never seen Tommy eat. Like he sat down at tables, but has never consumed a morsel. So then we made it a kind of a running gag. So throughout the 36 hours of television, Tommy Shelby never consumes anything, except I think once he consumes a sprig of mint when he's with his son.
And of course, the language. The talented actor has never lost his authentic Cork accent, but his character Shelby has a strong Birmingham accent. The Irishman perfected it once he went to the Real Garrison pub in Small Heath with Stephen Knight. Although he has received critical acclaim for his pleasant voice, some criticized his accent, claiming that it didn't fit the modern Birmingham language. However, in this case, Cillian defended the authenticity of his character's speech, which corresponded to the time of the drama. Knight also saw the difference between an actor and his hero. Cillian and Tommy are almost polar opposites. And maybe that's how it works. It's a cliche, but no one else could have been Tommy Shelby. It would be absurd. It was as if Cillian was always waiting. As you can see, Thomas and Cillian have little in common, but this did not prevent the latter from creating a convincing image of a ruthless and magnetic leader of the gang and holding the audience's attention for all 6 seasons. The actor is sure that it was this character that gave him the greatest experience of growing up and integrating into the role, being able to inhabit it to a point where the character starts thinking for you in the performance. That happens towards certainly series 4, 5, and 6. It was definitely the character was in control of the vehicle, if you know what I mean, said Murphy. Of course, this series is also attractive with aesthetics and a fairly detailed, realistic depiction of the life of the middle class at that time. It is impossible not to mention the elegant suits of the characters. Probably many of the viewers after watching wanted to dress as stylishly as the members of Peaky Blinders' gang. However, the actors themselves were not always delighted with their clothes. Murphy recalled that during the filming period in the summer, the wool suits were a big challenge. Clothes can tell us a lot about characters. Thomas Shelby, his brothers, and crew in the early seasons were limited to dark, relatively plain clothes. Over time, Peaky Blinders' suits evolved with their characters. They moved from plains to prints and stripes that would dominate the 1930s. However, the material of the suit remained a functional, heavy wool, an ideal fabric for Peaky Blinders' harsh life. The distinctive caps are the symbol of their gang, so even when the Peaky Blinders can afford the expensive fur felt hats worn by the rich, they choose to keep their caps, deliberately favoring this working-class hats over more respectable ones. The Peaky Blinders incorporate the signature style of the 20s and 30s directly into their gang's identity. At the beginning of the series, the Peaky Blinders mainly wear gold pocket watches with single Albert chains, clasps, and rings. With the change of seasons and fashion, they add more jewelry to their look, especially on the collar. One of the famous fans of this show was David Bowie. A year before his death, he sent the film crew a pre-release copy of his final album, Black Star. He also gave them permission to use his music on the show and hoped to create a soundtrack for it. We were friends, and I sent him the cap from the first series as a Christmas present. He was a very sweet man and a genuine fan of Peaky Blinders, and I was a huge, huge David Bowie fan. The end of the series was unexpected, not only for his fans, but also for Knight himself. Don't worry, we won't spoil it. After years of harboring ideas about how the drama would end, Knight changed his mind at the end. Initially, he planned to end the final series with the first air raid siren of World War II, but everything went wrong. The director took a very responsible approach to this decision because, according to him, when you complete something, there is no turning back and it will not be possible to redo it. Peaky Blinders received many awards and nominations. For example, at the 2018 BAFTA TV Awards ceremony, the National Film Academy awarded the series in the Best Drama Series category.
It's a family.
The family.
Family. Sometimes it is shelter from the storm. Sometimes it is the storm itself.
As you can see with the end of the last season, the series' popularity does not fade. Even now, Peaky Blinders remains one of the most popular Netflix projects of all time. Taking advantage of this, the creators of the series plan to launch a chain of themed pubs and even barbershops, inspired by Wild Coyote bars opening around the world after the release of the movie with the same title. Karen Mondebach Productions hopes to further capitalize on the show's wild international popularity with the launch of a line of clothing, shaving, and hair care products. Don't forget about the various board and video games based on the series, which allow you to join the Shelby clan and help them solve problems. The actor perceived the end of the series doubly. On the one hand, no more Peaky means no more of the exhausting work to become Tommy, but it's also the end of an enduring part that has lodged itself in the British firmament. I don't have a grasp on it yet. It's the end of 10 years of my life. A big adventure with lots of colleagues and people that you become very close to. Between filming and Peaky Blinders, Murphy continued to act in other films. For example, the actor starred in the drama Aloft. He also appeared in Wally Pfister's sci-fi thriller Transcendence with Johnny Depp and Morgan Freeman, where he played the role of FBI agent Donald Buchanan.
The only way to stop it is to shut down the internet. Basically cut power to every networked hard drive on Earth. It's Y2K.
Right. And why do we need the terrorists?
Unfortunately, on Rotten Tomatoes, both films received mostly negative reviews from critics. In the same year, Murphy reunited with Enda Walsh in the play Ballyturk. and starred in Ron Howard's In the Heart of the Sea with Chris Hemsworth and Tom Holland. In 2015, he recorded vocals for the track 858 and The Clock in Paul Hartnell's album 858. They previously met when Hartnell wrote the music for the second season of Peaky Blinders. In 2016, Murphy starred in Ben Wheatley's action comedy Free Fire.
You know what? Fuck the small talk. Let's buy some guns, eh?
All right. Step into my office.
And he also played the Czechoslovak soldier in World War II, Joseph Gabčík, who was involved in Operation Anthropoid, the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich in the movie Anthropoid. In this intense military biographical thriller, Murphy shared the main role with another Irish actor, Jamie Dornan, known worldwide for the spicy adaptation of 50 Shades of Grey. Despite the brilliant performance, Cillian admitted that he knew almost nothing about the story that formed the basis of the plot. It's not widely known outside of the Czech Republic, which is kind of criminal given how it altered the course of World War II and consequently altered the course of history, says Murphy, describing it as a story of remarkable heroism and human endeavor. In Christopher Nolan's war movie Dunkirk, Murphy made a cameo appearance as a shell-shocked army officer who was recovered from a wrecked ship. He felt that his nameless hero, who was simply called Shivering Soldier, was representative of something experienced by thousands of soldiers, i.e., the deep emotional and psychological consequences that war can have. Peaky Blinders, Anthropoid, and Dunkirk have something in common. They are all based on real stories. They were chosen by the actor for a reason. He explained this choice by the fact that it was a duty to respect and honor the lives of those who lived before us. I have a fondness for historical stories, for real-life things that happened in the past. The families of the men, of the two central characters in the film, still live in Prague. They came to the premiere we had there, so you want to respect them and their legacy. That's very important to me. In 2021, Cillian returned to the horror genre and appeared in the second part of the successful movie A Quiet Place Part 2. Murphy's character is Emmett, a grieving father who hid in an abandoned factory far away from the monsters. Shortly after he lost his own family, another one appeared in his life. A mother, played by the charming Emily Blunt, and her 3 children. For this role, Cillian grew a large beard and became almost unrecognizable.
Well, we talked a lot, John and I, about, I guess, the backstory of Emmett, a lot of which is, you don't see on screen, but was kind of pertinent to the story and the fact that there would have been a relationship between Emmett's family and the Abbotts, and that would have informed, obviously, the relationship when they meet again. But the fact that he is a completely different character, like unrecognizable, physically and sort of psychologically, because of the result of trauma and loss and everything.
The movie, as well as its first part, was directed and written by John Krasinski, Emily's husband and the star of the series The Office. One of the actresses, Millicent Simmons, who played the deaf daughter of the main character in the film, was actually deaf in real life. The girl worked with a coach to make sure her gestures and articulation were understandable. Currently, Murphy is also actively participating in movies. This summer, the Oppenheimer movie starring our today's star will be released worldwide. It is a biographical film written and directed by Christopher Nolan, based on the book American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin. He agreed to participate mostly because of his good relationship with the director. "I'll always turn up for Chris, whatever the size of the part," Murphy says. "Chris will call me up, and I'm there." This is already the 6th collaboration between the actor and the director, but for the first time, Cillian plays the main role. J. Robert Oppenheimer, an American theoretical physicist. He is considered the father of the atomic bomb because of his involvement in the Manhattan Project during World War II. Scientists of this project developed the first nuclear weapon. Murphy claims that viewers will see another unique approach to a well-known story. The difference with this one is the story is there. Everybody knows what happened, but Chris is telling it in a different way, as with Chris you would expect. That's all I can say. In preparation for his role, Cillian read a lot of material about his character. "I am never, ever going to understand quantum mechanics, but I can begin to understand conceptually what those guys were trying to do," he said. But despite this, Murphy had to work through a considerable amount of literature to figure it out. "I'm interested in the man and what inventing the atomic bomb does to the individual." Murphy's colleagues on the set were Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Rami Malek, and other Hollywood stars. The casting process was so secretive that some actors didn't know what role they were going to play until they signed the contract. Robert, Matt, and Emily accepted lower than usual salaries for the film, earning $4 million each instead of their usual $10 to $20 million. The actors' auditions were carried out in 2021, however, filming did not begin until late February 2022 and lasted 4 months. Murphy claimed that the script for the film was the best he had ever read. I think the film is sensational. As a person who loves films, I'm not saying it because I'm in the thing. I hate looking at myself. But as a lover of film, as a cinephile, I am a Chris Nolan fan. The Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, and the University of California, Berkeley campus were used as locations. As in his previous works, Nolan extensively used practical effects. The plot involved the use of real explosives to reduce the Trinity nuclear test instead of computer graphics, which were already familiar to the viewer. Despite his extensive experience, Murphy admitted in an interview that a big role scared him. But if I felt it was easy, I wouldn't be interested. I do get nervous, anxious, and insecure. But then you go, fuck it. I've been doing it for 25 years and I've done it before, so just keep going. He added. I spend a lot of time at home, actually. I don't really do the party or the premiere thing, unless it's my own, and then it would be rude not to go. It's not a very hectic life at all, really. Cillian really does not like to talk about his personal life. However, we did find some interesting facts. It is known that the actor has been married to the Irish artist Yvonne McGuinness since 2004. The couple met at one of his rock band's concerts back in 1996, before Murphy became a world-famous movie star. The couple has 2 sons, 16-year-old Malaki and 15-year-old Iran. Yvonne's second pregnancy coincided with Murphy's filming of The Wind That Shakes the Barley. The actor later told The Guardian that filming the movie was one of his favorite acting experiences, partly because he was able to be close to McGuinness. I was living at home with my folks. My wife was pregnant with our son, and we were running around the hills of West Cork shooting up black and tans. Fantastic, he described. However, during the filming of Peaky Blinders, Yvonne stayed at home with her children in Dublin. Murphy moved into a rented flat in Liverpool where he said he lived his zero life. The actor does not speak too flattering about that period. It's cancelled life. You go home to your tiny apartment at the end of the day and you feed yourself for sustenance and you learn the lines for the next day and you try to get as much sleep as you possibly can, which isn't much. And then you get up and do it again. Yvonne McGuinness was with the actor throughout his journey to fame. In his interviews, Murphy says that he owes his success to his wife and that she keeps him grounded. It's very important to have somebody like that, he said. My life hasn't changed in any way, really. I still have the same friends and we go to the same places. The family has helped keep Murphy afloat between roles, especially when he needs to recover before starting a new project. You need time to be alone and to get away. I reach out to my family and try to be close to them in these periods. I think that helps me a lot, the actor told GQ. In order to spend at least some time with them, Cillian is very selective about his projects. I have an amazing wife and I couldn't do this without her and her understanding, but it is a struggle. I think it is for any dad whose work takes him away, which it generally does, and which consumes him, which my work does. Despite the father's popularity, his children did not watch most of the movies with his participation. Cillian and Yvonne decided not to introduce their sons to his work until they reached the appropriate age because of the scenes of violence and cruelty presented in the movies. The star's youngest son, Iran, played Shakespeare's son at the age of 11 in the one-man play Hamnet, which was staged in New York, Boston, and Hong Kong in 2019. In one of the interviews, Murphy recalled, "He was so chilled about it, you know? He would come off stage and ask what the score was in the Liverpool game. And again, you're slightly jealous of that. There's the danger that overanalyzing everything can erode the simplicity." Despite the fact that the artist rarely appears with his wife on red carpets, photos of the couple are periodically posted on the internet. In 2015, the Murphy family returned to Ireland after 14 years in London. The couple explained their decision by saying that it was a common Irish narrative to move to England or America in your 20s to find your calling and then return home. I always thought that it was so retrogressive, but now I realize that it is just natural. You want to be with your parents as they get older, and you want your children to be aware of their culture. When asked by a journalist if their boys rebelled when they were told that they would leave their school friends, Cillian replied that he and his wife had promised them a dog, so there were no problems with the children. Although now, Murphy's the only one who walks the dog named Scout. He got his nickname after the family watched the movie To Kill a Mockingbird. "I've always loved Labradors," Murphy said. "They're so caring and emotionally smart. We walk him on the beach every day. He has the best life." So So where exactly does the star live now? It turned out in Monkstown, a small town in the south of Dublin, where the family bought a luxury house in a calm and quiet suburb for 1.7 million euros. This is a historical building with an area of 3,444 square feet built in the 1860s. The house has 6 bedrooms, as well as a living room and several original fireplaces. After the purchase, the Murphys received permission to modernize, so inside the house looks quite modern and cozy. The excellent location of the property allows you to walk to the sea, and there are yacht clubs, parks, and a number of popular schools nearby. He calls this area the Riviera for the poor, but believes that the moving was very important for raising his children. It is important for Cillian that his sons can grow up here, closer to their grandparents and far from the pressure of life in a huge city. It's quiet, he says. I like where I am now in life. Wouldn't have been that exciting in my 20s. His house doesn't exactly have an ocean view. From the top of my son's bedroom, if you stand on your tiptoes. But he says, we're quite close, and it does make you feel instantly decompressed in some way. I think it's good for the old happiness index. It looks like Cillian bought the house at the right time, as other properties in the area have since sold for around 4 million euros. Murphy has previously told reporters that he and his wife like to cook, watch movies, and listen to music, so presumably in his home in Monkstown is ideal for such domestic activities. In his spare time, the actor likes to run with his dog along the seacoast, play the Hawaiian guitar, and sing. Cillian leads a closed life, trying, by his own admission, to avoid the fate of Brad Pitt, whose every move is known to the public. Simplicity is also evident in his style. The actor prefers clothes without fancy accents, basic, practical colors. My taste is very much a good pair of jeans, a good jacket, a good pair of shoes. Well-made things that fit. I'm not that adventurous. Music remains one of the celebrity's main passions. The Irishman stopped playing in a rock band but continued to write songs. An avid music lover, Murphy said in 2004, "The only extravagant things in my lifestyle are my stereos, music, and going to concerts." However, Cillian does not plan to start another band. He is engaged in music not for the sake of fame but for personal interest. I'm too hypercritical, it's all shit. Never, ever for public consumption, says Murphy. Even if I was good, the very notion of being an actor with a rock band on the side would mean I'd never be taken seriously. However, the celebrity likes to share his thoughts about music. Therefore, he recorded a number of programs on the BBC Radio 6 Music in which he highlighted the creativity of his favorite bands. What he likes about this process is that there is no need to share revelations. I couldn't do live radio, I'd find that absolutely terrifying. He says, I like just sitting down here in the dark, coming up with the playlists. In addition, the actor's soft and soothing voice can be heard on the meditation app Calm, where he reads a story about traveling through Ireland by train.
Tonight, we take a trip across my home country of Ireland. It isn't a very large place. In fact, only about 6.5 million people call the whole of the island home.
Murphy is not an actor who seeks attention outside of his work. It is unlikely that you will be able to find information about how drunk or stoned Cillian was looking for adventures. He doesn't need it. Cillian's not silly, says the actor Sam Neill, his co-star in the first 2 series of Peaky. He does not splash his life around. He does not turn up to get shredded. He's extremely diligent and extremely good at what he does. Cillian has no personal accounts on Instagram and other social medias.
Too old for that, you know?
No, you're not.
Yeah.
On forums dedicated to the actor, fans argue about whether the idol did plastic surgery or not. The artist himself does not comment on such rumors, but moviegoers, after studying Murphy's photo, noticed that his nose later became narrower and his lips plumper. Another fan's invention was a meme called Disappointed Cillian Murphy. It appeared after numerous interviews with the Irishman in which the actor had a very detached view and was frankly bored by the banal journalist's questions. Murphy himself comments on this meme with a smile on his face, assuring everyone that he likes to talk about the movies in which he appears, but the interviewers often ask the same questions, and it is very exhausting. Murphy is an introvert and a simple guy. He doesn't have a personal stylist or publicist. He travels unaccompanied and often attends movie premieres alone. The Irishman sincerely does not understand all the fuss around movie stars and often suffers from fame and popularity. Cillian believes that the actor is just a profession alongside others and does not understand such high salaries that most celebrities receive. I'm shit at being anything else other than an actor, he admitted. I'm shit at red carpets. I'm shit at being on talk shows. I'm shit at all the other stuff that comes with it. He does not like red carpets, the glamour of Hollywood, and deliberately leads a lifestyle that is of little interest to the press. If you behave like a celebrity, then people will treat you like a celebrity, and if you don't, they won't. There's not much to write about me in the tabloids. And indeed, throughout his bright career, Murphy was never involved in any high-profile scandal and never compromised himself in anything. The actor prefers not to talk about his life outside of acting and did not appear on any television talk show until 2010. It is getting absurd with the dumbing down, the level of questions you get asked. Seriously though, if someone asks a stupid question, you can only give a stupid answer or appear arrogant. But all this stuff I tolerate a lot better now. Little is known about the celebrity's close circle of friends. Back in 2005, he called his colleagues, Irish actors Colin Farrell, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and Liam Neeson pals, and even calls Neeson his surrogate father in the movies. However, Cillian admits that his closest friendships are the ones he made before he became famous. I have a very, very close-knit group of friends from Ireland. They and my family are the most important things to me. Murphy is also a politically aware citizen of his country. The actor participated in the Rock the Vote Ireland campaign in 2007, aimed at young voters, and another one for the rights of the homeless with the organization Focus Ireland. In 2011, he became a patron of the UNESCO Child and Family Research Centre at the National University of Ireland, Galway. He is closely associated with the work of Professor Pat Dolan, Director UCFRC and UNESCO Chair in Children, Youth, and Civic Engagement. Today, Murphy chooses his films very carefully and is proud of all his projects in theater and cinema. As you can see, the life of the Peaky Blinders star is not as crazy and unpredictable as that of his screen character. But despite this, Cillian Murphy cannot but cause admiration and deep respect for his personality. We hope that in this video we've answered all your questions and inspired you to watch your favorite celebrity movies again. And if you, like our team, are excited that Cillian is played in Nolan's new film, we advise you to watch our video about his prototype, Robert Oppenheimer, and learn more about this extraordinary personality, his scientific achievements, career, and Manhattan Project. Follow the link and we promise it will be very interesting. Thank you for watching this video until the end. It would be great if you click on the like button. It was Biographer, so goodbye for a while. See you soon.